helpless, pain, shame. Easy. It hurt so bad. Her voice cracked like dry wood under weight. Rose Carter hung from the low branch of an old oak, one leg yanked high by a rope tied tight around her ankle. Her body twisted sideways in a way no person was meant to endure. She wasn't hanging to die. She was hanging to feel it. Every second pulled harder. The rope dug deeper into her skin, raw and red, cutting slow like it had time to learn her pain. Her other foot scraped uselessly at the air, never quite touching ground. Her fingers clung to the branch above her, slipping, catching, slipping again. If she let go, the full weight would drop onto that one ankle, and she knew, deep down, that something worse might follow. She hadn't tied that rope. No woman put herself up a tree like that just to die slow. Someone had put her there. Someone who wanted her alive long enough to suffer. Alive, if possible, hurt no matter what, and maybe long enough for somebody else to make the mistake of helping her. A faint sound came from the brush behind her. Not wind, not water. A small shift, metal, touching something it shouldn't. Then another sound came from farther off. A dog. Low. Trained, her breath hitched. They're close, she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. Below her. The river moved steady, cold and quiet, like none of this mattered. A horse stood tied nearby, head down, chewing dry grass, calm in a way that felt almost wrong. Then she saw him. A man stepped out from the line of pine trees, tall, broad, still. He didn't rush, didn't call out, didn't reach for her. He just stopped a few steps away and looked, not at her face, at the rope, at her leg, at the way her body hung. Eli Boone had spent too many years in places where the wrong move got you killed fast, and this didn't look like a mistake. Rose stared at him, hope flashing, then cracking into fear, because he wasn't doing anything. "You gonna help me?" she said, breath shaken, voice thin. He didn't answer. He stepped closer instead, slow, careful. His boots pressed soft into the dirt, eyes never leaving the rope above her ankle. Up close, he saw the swelling. The torn skin took, the way the knot sat too clean, too tight, not rushed, not angry. Placed, deliberate. His jaw tightened just a little. Whatever this was, he already hated it. Then he smelled it. Gun oil. Faint, but wrong for a place like this. His hand rose and pressed lightly against her side, steadying her swinging body. She flinched hard, expecting pain. It didn't come. "Easy," he said. Flat, measured, not the voice of a man about to rush in. Her eyes searched his face. "Please," she said, panic creeping in. "Just cut me down." The knife came out, steel catching the light. Her grip loosened just a little. This was it. This was the moment it ended. But Eli didn't cut. The blade stopped inches from the rope. His eyes shifted, past her, down, to the base of the tree, to the brush just beyond her hanging leg. There. A thin trip line, almost invisible, running from the rope into the low grass. His head tilted slightly, listening. That faint sound again, a soft, waiting tension. Rose's voice broke sharper now. "But what are you doing? I can't hold." The branch creaked louder. Her fingers slipped. She gasped. Still, he didn't cut. Like he was hesitating. Like he didn't care. Like he might walk away. Her chest tightened. "No," she whispered. "Don't leave me." But he wasn't leaving. He was deciding. The knife lowered. Her stomach dropped with it. Then his hand moved to his hip. The revolver came out smooth. She stared at him, confusion turning to fear. "Have you lost your mind?" she cried. He didn't look at her. His eyes locked on the brush behind her. One breath. Slow. Controlled. "Hold still," he said. She froze. Not because she trusted him, because she didn't have anything left to move with. Time stretched thin. The river kept moving. The horse kept chewing. The rope creaked. And somewhere in that quiet, something waited. His finger tightened. The shot cracked through the valley. Instant. sharp. And in the same breath, the brush exploded. A hidden shotgun fired upward, blasting through the space where Eli would have stood if he had cut her down first. Wood shattered from the trunk. Smoke burst into the air. Rose screamed, not from the rope, from how close death had just passed. Eli moved fast now. No hesitation. Knife back in hand. One quick cut to the trip line she never saw. Another to the main rope. Her body dropped. Only inches before his arm caught her around the waist. He lowered her slow, careful, like something already broken that he didn't want to break further. Her feet hit the ground. Her leg buckled. He held her steady. Her breath came in sharp bursts. Her hands shook against his coat. She looked up at him. Not fear now. Not exactly. Something else. Trying to understand. You saw that, she managed. He didn't answer. His eyes moved past her. Scanning, listening. Because now the trap was gone, but the men who set it weren't. A dog barked in the distance. Low, trained, closer than before. Rose's face drained of color. They're coming, she said. Eli looked back at the tree, at the rope still hanging, at the shattered bark, then at her, then toward the ridge. His expression didn't change much, but something inside him had already shifted. This wasn't just a rescue anymore. This was a message someone had set, and he had just answered it. Eli looked at her one more time, really looked. At the fear, at the bruises, at the way she still braced for pain. Then he looked toward the trees again, measuring distance, time, risk. Because the moment he cut that rope, this stopped being her trouble and became his. So here's the question. When a man who has spent years staying out of other people's fights finally steps in, how far is he willing to go when he realizes walking away is no longer an option? He didn't let go of her right away. Eli kept one arm firm around Rose's waist, holding her steady while her weight shifted back onto her good leg. She tried to stand. Her ankle failed her. Pain shot up fast and sharp, and she sucked in air through her teeth, grabbing his coat without thinking. Steady, he said again, quieter this time. Not a command, more like a reminder. She nodded, but her breathing stayed uneven. Behind them, the smoke from the hidden shotgun still drifted through the brush, thin and gray, hanging in the warm air. Eli didn't look at it long. He had already seen what he needed to see. Now he was listening. The dog bark came again. Closer. Not random. Not lost. Tracking. Rose heard it too. Her fingers tightened in his coat. That's his dogs, she said, voice low, shaken. He don't send them out unless he knows where to look. Eli shifted his stance, easing her weight down onto a rock near the base of the tree. Can you sit? He asked. I can, she said, though it came out more stubborn than strong. He let her settle, then stepped away just enough to look over the ground. He moved slow, eyes scanning, not rushing. The rope, the cut line, the disturbed dirt, the angle of the blast, a clean setup, not a drunk man's anger, not a fight gone wrong. This had been built, planned, left waiting. He crouched near the brush and nudged aside a piece of broken wood with his boot. There it was, the shotgun, half hidden, rigged to the trip line he had cut. Simple, brutal, effective. He gave a small nod to himself. Whoever set that, he said, more to the ground than to her, knew what they were doing. Rose didn't answer right away. She was watching him now. Really watching. Trying to understand the man who didn't cut her down first, them. She said finally, it wasn't just one. He glanced back at her. She swallowed. Harlan don't do his own dirty work, not out here. That name sat in the air for a second. Eli stood up. Who is he to you? He asked. Her eyes dropped, then came back up. My husband, she said. The word didn't sound right, didn't land right. Eli caught that. How long? He asked. 3 months, she said. Another bark. Closer now. The sound carried over the ridge, sharper than before. Eli turned his head slightly, tracking it. How far behind? He asked. Rose looked toward the trees, like she could see through them. Not far enough, she said. That was enough for him. He stepped to his horse, untied the reins, checked the saddle in one quick motion. Then back to her. Up, he said. She blinked. You serious? You want to stay? He asked. That answered it. He stepped in, one arm around her again, lifting her carefully. She winced, but didn't cry out. He set her in the saddle, slow, making sure her bad leg didn't take the weight. Then he swung up behind her in one smooth move. For a man his size, he moved quiet, controlled, not wasted. Rose shifted, trying to find balance. You don't have to do this, she said, almost like she needed to say it out loud. Eli glanced once at the tree, at the rope still hanging, at the broken bark. Nobody deserves that, he said. Then he nudged the horse forward, not toward the open trail, not the easy way. He turned uphill instead, into rock and thin pine where hooves didn't leave much story behind. The horse picked its way steady. Rose leaned back slightly, not by choice, just because she didn't have the strength to hold herself straight for long. Eli adjusted his grip, one hand on the reins, the other bracing her without making a show of it. They rode in silence for a while, only the sound of hooves on stone and the wind moving through the trees. Then she spoke again. He told me nobody walks away, she said. Eli didn't answer right away. He say that to everyone, he asked after a moment. Only the ones he thinks belong to him, she said. That told him enough. The dog bark came again. Closer. Eli didn't turn this time. He just listened, measured, counted. They crossed a narrow stretch of rock where the ground turned hard and dry. Good. Less scent, less trail. Still not enough. Men like that didn't stop. Dogs didn't quit. You ever see him afraid? Eli asked. Rose thought about it. No, she said. Eli gave a small nod. Then maybe it's time, he said. She didn't respond, but something in her posture shifted, not stronger, just less broken. They rode another stretch in silence. The ridge opened slightly, giving a view down toward the valley. In the distance, a thin line of buildings sat under the afternoon light. Willow Bend. Rose saw it. Her breathing changed. That's where he owns everything, she said. Eli looked once, then back to the trail ahead. He owns what people let him, he said. She gave a faint, bitter breath of a laugh. You don't know this place, she said. Maybe not, he replied. But I know men. The dog bark echoed again. Close now. Too close. Eli leaned forward slightly. Hold on, he said. The horse picked up just a bit of speed, careful but quicker. They moved along the ridge, angling toward a higher ground, then cutting sideways instead of straight up. Not running, not yet, just staying one step ahead, and somewhere behind them, men were following. Not searching, following. Because the trap had been set for one thing, and now it had caught something else entirely. Because this ride isn't slowing down, and the man chasing them isn't the kind who lets things go. So the real question now is this. If Harlan Voss set a trap that deadly just to make a point, what is he willing to do now that someone stepped in and broke it? The ridge narrowed as they rode, rock under hoof, wind picking up, and behind them, the sound that didn't belong out here unless trouble was following. Dogs, closer now, not barking wild, barking certain. Eli didn't look back. Men who looked back too often missed what was ahead. He shifted the horse slightly off the narrow path, guiding it over broken stone where tracks faded fast. Rose leaned into him without meaning to. Her strength was slipping, not all at once, just enough that he could feel it. You still with me? He asked. I am, she said, but her voice told the truth, barely. He adjusted his hold again, keeping her steady. No rush in the movement, just quiet control. They rode like that for a while. No talking, just distance. Then finally, the trees opened just enough to reveal something ahead. An old line shack, half tucked into the rock, roof sagging, door still standing. Eli guided the horse toward it without a word. He dismounted first, then turned back and helped her down slow. Her foot hit the ground. Pain hit right after. She sucked in air hard, but stayed upright. That bad? He asked. It's still mine, she said. inside the shack. It was cooler. Dust, old wood, a stove that hadn't seen fire in a while. He sat her down near the wall, then moved without wasting time. Water from a small canteen, cloth torn clean. No speech, just work. He knelt and took a look at her ankle. Swollen, angry. Rope had done its job. "This will hurt," he said. She let out a tired breath. "I know what hurt is." He cleaned it anyway, but slow, careful. A little whiskey to keep it from turning worse. She flinched, but didn't pull away. Outside, the wind shifted. He paused. Listened. Nothing yet. "But that didn't mean safe. You said Harlan," he said, keeping his voice even. She nodded. "My father owed him money," she said. "Drought hit. Cattle died. Land wasn't enough to cover it." Eli said nothing. He already knew how those stories went. He came with papers. She continued, smiled like he was doing us a favor. Eli wrapped the ankle tighter. "And the price was you," he said. She didn't answer. Didn't need to. Silence sat heavy in the room for a second. Then she added, quieter, "I tried to leave." Eli tied the cloth off, and he said no. He finished. She looked at him. "Yeah." Outside, a bark, closer. No guessing now. They were on the trail. Eli stood, moved to the small window, looked out. Nothing visible yet, but the sound told him everything. Then the horse outside shifted hard against the post. Something had come close enough to make it nervous. He turned back. "If he finds you," he said. "What does he do?" Rose didn't hesitate. "Worse than the tree." That was enough. Eli reached for the small chest under the bunk, opened it. Cartridges. Dried meat. A folded map. He stared at it for a second, then closed it again. But that only worked if the other man didn't care enough to keep coming, and Harlan Voss cared. He had set a trap like that. He had sent dogs. He had posted men. That wasn't anger. That was control. Eli leaned against the wall, arms loose at his sides, thinking, not fast, not slow, just clear. Rose watched him. "You thinking of taking me further up?" she asked. He shook his head once. "No." She frowned. "Then where?" He looked toward the door, then beyond it, down the mountain, into town, he said. Her face went pale. "That's his ground," she said. "Every street, every man." Eli met her eyes. "Not every man," he said. She shook her head. "You don't understand. Folks there don't cross him. Some don't." Eli replied, "Some do." She let out a breath that sounded close to breaking. "If we go down there, he'll be waiting. If we stay up here," Eli said, "he'll keep coming." He stepped closer. "You can't outrun dogs forever," he said, "and I don't have enough bullets to fight a mountain. And once night falls, men like his don't get tired. They just get meaner." She stared at the floor, thinking, feeling the truth settle whether she liked it or not. He added one more piece. "In town, there's eyes," he said. "Witnesses, maybe law that ain't his. Rail towns pulled in federal men now and then, especially when land started smelling crooked." She looked back up. "Maybe," she said. "That's better than none," he answered. Outside, a sound downed, not a bark. Boot on rock, close, too close. Eli moved fast now, no more thinking. Decision made. "Up," he said. She pushed herself to stand. Pain flashed. She didn't stop. He helped her to the horse again. Quick, careful. Then he swung up behind her. The reins shifted in his hand. He turned the horse, not up, down, straight toward the valley, toward Willow Bend, toward the man who owned more than land. As they moved out from the shack, the wind carried voices this time. Low, close. Men. They had reached the ridge. Eli didn't look back. He didn't need to, because now it wasn't about staying hidden. It was about getting there first. And as the town came into clearer view below, One thing settled in his mind like iron. Harlan Voss wasn't just waiting. He was ready. So the question is, when they ride straight into a town that already believes the wrong story, who's going to be seen as the outlaw first? The town came into view slow. First the rooftops, then the dust road, then the line of buildings sitting low under the sky like they had been there too long to move. Willow Bend. Eli didn't slow the horse, but he didn't rush either. Men who rode in too fast got noticed. Men who rode in too careful got remembered. He chose something in between. Rose sat in front of him, stiff, quiet, not from calm, from knowing exactly where she was going. "That road there," she said, voice low, "leads straight past his place." Eli shifted the reins. "We won't take it," he said. He guided the horse along the edge instead, where the road bent wide and the trees still gave a little cover. A wagon rolled past ahead of them. Old driver, two boys riding behind. All three kept looking a second too long. Rose felt it. That weight, that knowing, they already heard. She said, Eli didn't answer. He didn't need to. News traveled faster than horses in places like this, especially when the man behind it owned half the town. They moved closer. Now the sounds came clearer. A hammer hitting wood, a door creaking, voices low and careful. Not relaxed, watching, always watching. They passed the first building, a small store. A woman stood out front with a basket. She glanced up. Her eyes moved to Rose's leg, then to Eli, then away. Fast. Like looking too long might cost her something. Rose swallowed. "That's how it is here," she said. Eli gave a small nod. "I've seen worse," he said. They reached the main stretch. A few men sat outside the saloon, hats low. Chairs tipped back, doing nothing, watching everything. One of them leaned forward slightly, spit into the dirt, eyes never leaving them. Eli kept riding, didn't meet their stare, didn't lower his, just passed through like he had a reason to be there. That was the trick. Always look like you belong. Rose's hand tightened around the saddle horn. Her breathing changed again. Not pain this time, something else. Fear mixed with anger. On the corner ahead, a piece of paper flapped against a wooden post. Eli saw it before they reached it. Big letters, bold, easy to read from a distance. Reward. He slowed just enough to take it in. Bring back the runaway wife. Bring in the man who took her. Alive. Rose saw it too, her face drained. "They turned me into a thing," she said. "Like I got lost." Eli reached forward, just enough to turn her slightly so she wouldn't keep staring. "You're not lost," he said. "You're right here." Across the street, a door opened. A man stepped out, not dressed like the others. No fancy coat, no clean shine. Dust on his boots, hat worn low, badge pinned quiet on his chest. E.T. Not town law, different. Eli saw it right away. Deputy U.S. Marshal. The man didn't rush, didn't call out. He just watched. First the paper, then Eli, then Rose. His eyes stopped at her ankle. Stayed there a second longer than the rest, then moved back up, sharp, thinking. Rose felt it. Her back pressed slightly into Eli without meaning to. Eli tipped his hat just a touch, not friendly, not unfriendly, just enough to say he knew what he was looking at. The marshal didn't return it. He stepped off the boardwalk, boots hitting dirt slow, measured, every step steady. The street shifted. Not loud, but real. Men outside the saloon stopped talking. Rose's fingers tightened again. "Easy," Eli said under his breath. The marshal stopped a few steps away, close enough now to see the lines on his face. Son, years. A man who had seen things and didn't need to talk about them. "You Eli Boone?" the marshal asked. Eli nodded once. "You seen that notice?" the marshal said. "I saw it." Eli answered. The marshal's eyes moved to Rose. "You the wife?" he asked. Rose lifted her chin slightly. "My name's Rose Carter," she said. The marshal didn't correct her. Didn't say the other name. That mattered. "You two need to come with me," he said. Simple, flat. Not a request. Eli didn't reach for his gun. Not here. Not in the middle of a town where every window could hide a rifle. "On what charge?" he asked. "Disturbing the peace," the marshal said. "Possible abduction." Rose let out a breath that almost turned into a laugh, but it died halfway. From down the street, hooves hit dirt. Fast. Eli didn't turn. Didn't have to. He felt it. The change, the shift in the air. The marshal saw it too. His jaw tightened just a fraction. "You got about half a minute," the marshal said quietly. "Before this gets loud." That was not the voice of a man working for Harlan. That was the voice of a man who didn't like being watched. Eli leaned slightly forward, low enough that only the marshal could hear. "She was hanging from a tree," he said. The marshal's eyes didn't blink, with a shotgun tied to the rope. Eli added, "That did it." Something sharpened behind those eyes. "Say that again," the marshal said. Rose spoke this time. "He did it." She said, "Harlan Voss." The sound of hooves got closer. Men were coming. Not hiding. Not slow. The marshal exhaled once. Short. Thinking fast now. "You got proof?" he asked. "Not yet," Eli said. The marshal looked at both of them, then toward the sound, then back. Decision. Fast. "If I put irons on you," he said, "I can get you inside before they do something stupid." Eli held his gaze, and then he asked, "Then we talk." The marshal said that was the best offer they were going to get. Eli gave a small nod. The marshal stepped forward. Cold metal snapped around Eli's wrist. Not rough, not gentle, just enough to make it real. Rose's breath hitched. Eli looked at her. "Stay close," he said. They started across the street. And right as they reached the door, a voice rang out behind them, loud, confident, owned. "That man's wanted." Eli didn't need to turn. He knew exactly who had just arrived. So now the question is this. When the man who owns the town walks in smiling, who does the law listen to first? The door shut behind them. Just like that, the noise of the street dropped away. Not gone, just muffled, like trouble waiting on the other side of a thin wall. Inside the sheriff's office, it was cooler, dim, a desk, 2 chairs, a narrow cell in the back that hadn't seen much use. The marshal stepped in first, guiding Eli and Rose inside. He closed the door without looking back. That alone told Eli something. This man didn't scare easy. The cuff came off, quick. No show, no speech. "Start talking," the marshal said. Eli didn't waste time. He kept it simple. The rope, the angle. The second line, the shotgun hidden in the brush, how it would have fired the second the weight shifted. Rose added what she could. The bruises, the threats, the way Harlan spoke when nobody else was around. No long story, just truth, piece by piece. The marshal listened, didn't nod, didn't interrupt, just stood there, arms loose, eyes steady. When they finished, he took a breath. "You understand something," he said. "Harlan Voss owns a lot of this town." Eli didn't argue. "But he doesn't own federal ground," the marshal added. "And he doesn't own me. That landed..." Not loud, but solid. Outside, boots hit wood. Voices, more than one. The sound of men who didn't ask permission. Rose's hands tightened in her lap. "He's here," she whispered. Eli didn't move. He didn't need to. He could feel it in the air. The way the street shifted when one man arrived, the marshal glanced toward the door. "Stay put," he said. Then he stepped outside. The door closed again. And for a moment, it was just the two of them. Rose sat still, too still. Eli leaned against the wall, eyes on the door. Listening, Harlan's voice came through first, smooth, easy, like a man greeting neighbors, not chasing them. A few words, then louder, not angry, controlled. That was worse. Rose's fingers twisted together. "He'll lie," she said. "He always does." Eli gave a small nod. Most men like that do, he said. Outside, the tone shifted, not shouting, something sharper, then a pause, then footsteps again, closer. The latch moved, the door opened, and Harlan Voss stepped inside. Clean coat. Hat set just right, boots without dust, like he hadn't ridden hard at all. Two men stayed just outside the door, hands resting near their guns. Harlan closed the door behind him without turning his back. That told Eli something else. This man knew how to stand in a room. Well now, Harlan said, voice calm, almost warm. I was told my wife had been found. Rose didn't move, didn't shrink, but she didn't step forward either. The marshal stayed near the desk. She says her name is Rose Carter. He said. Harlan smiled, just a little. Of course she does, he said. She gets confused when she's upset. Eli felt the heat rise in his chest. Yeah, but he kept it down. This wasn't his kind of fight. Not yet. Harlan's eyes moved to him. And you must be the mountain man, he said. The one who thought it wise to interfere. Eli let a second pass. She was hanging from a tree, he said. Harlan tilted his head. Is that so? With a shotgun tied to the rope? Eli added. That smile didn't disappear. It just changed. You expect anyone to believe that Harlan said? The marshal didn't step in. Not yet. He was watching, waiting, measuring both men. Harlan turned back to Rose. His voice softened. You ran, he said. You scared yourself. You hurt your ankle. Rose pushed herself up slightly. Pain hit. She didn't show it. I was tied there. She said, you told them to leave me. Something flickered across Harlan's face, just for a second, then gone. Deputy, he said, turning back. You see what I deal with. The marshal didn't answer. That silence mattered. Harlan stepped closer to Rose, not touching, just close enough to remind her. You belong at home, he said quietly. Eli shifted his weight. Small, but enough. Harlan noticed. Of course he did. His eyes slid back to Eli. You understand something, Harlan said. This town works because men respect boundaries. Eli met his gaze. Respect's earned, he said. That hung in the air. The marshal cleared his throat. Mayor, he said, I need a word with you outside. Harlan didn't move right away. Then he smiled again. Of course, he said. He turned toward the door, then paused. Oh, he added lightly, I brought something that might clear this up. He opened the door and gestured. One of his men handed him a folded paper. Harlan stepped back inside just enough to pass it over. The marshal took it, opened it slow, laid it flat on the desk. Eli didn't need to get close. He already knew what it was. Marriage certificate. Stamped. Signed. Clean. Rose's breath caught. That was under threat. She said. Harlan shrugged. Her father was present. He said. The marshal studied it. Quiet. Careful. Then looked up. It's legal, Harlan said. As her husband, I have every right to bring her home. The room tightened. Not with noise. With weight. Because paper like that carried more power than bruises in places like this. Eli watched the marshal. The marshal looked from the paper to Rose, to Eli, then back to Harlan. You got witnesses, he asked. Harlan smiled. Half the town, he said. And just like that, the trap wasn't in the woods anymore, and it was right here. Clean, legal, hard to break. Rose's voice came low. But he keeps other papers, she said. All eyes turned to her. Harlan's smile slipped. Just a fraction. What papers? The marshal asked. Rose swallowed. Debt records, she said. Land transfers. Things that don't match what's filed. Harlan stepped forward fast. That's enough. He snapped. There it was. The first crack. Eli saw it. The marshal saw it too. Now the air had changed. This wasn't just about a marriage anymore. This was about something bigger. Something Harlan didn't want touched. The marshal folded the certificate slowly, carefully, like he had just decided something. Mayor, he said, you're going to stay in town. Harlan laughed once. Sharp. You think you can hold me here? The marshal didn't blink. I think, he said, I can start asking the right questions. Harlan went still. Then something shifted behind his eyes. Not fear, not yet. Confidence. He adjusted his coat. Ask what you like, he said. My records are clean. He turned toward the door again, then paused one last time. You'll find, he added, voice quiet now, that certain documents were moved this morning. Rose went pale. Eli felt it before she even spoke. Moved. That meant one thing. Harlan had seen this coming, and whatever mattered most was no longer where it should be. The door closed behind him. Silence settled. The marshal looked at Rose. What did he move? He asked. Her voice barely carried. The books, she said, and the land papers. Eli straightened slowly, because now the fight had changed. This wasn't about proving what happened in the woods, it was about finding something Harlan had already hidden. And if they didn't find it fast enough, as the law would never catch up. So here's the problem now. If the truth is locked away somewhere in this town, how far are they willing to go to get it before Harlan makes it disappear for good? The room stayed quiet for a long second after the door closed. Not empty, heavy, like something had just shifted and none of them could pretend it hadn't. The marshal stood still, eyes on the door, thinking. Rose sat frozen, hands tight, like if she moved too fast the whole thing might break again. Eli pushed off the wall slowly. Depot, he said. The marshal glanced at him. You thinking the same thing, Eli added. The marshal nodded once. If he moved papers this morning, he said. He didn't take them far. Rose lifted her head. There's a safe, she said. Back office, at the rail depot. He met the depot clerk there after dark more than once, and he never carried papers anywhere he didn't think he controlled. Both men looked at her. You sure? The marshal asked. She nodded. I carried boxes there, she said. When he wanted me to feel useful. That line hung heavy in the room. Eli didn't react on the outside, but he heard it. The marshal exhaled. I can't walk in there and search it, he said. Not without cause I can stand on. Eli gave a small nod. He understood that kind of rule. Paper men needed paper reasons. But if those records are there, Eli said, they won't stay there long. The marshal looked back at the door, then to the window. Harlan's men were still outside, watching, waiting. And if I wait, the marshal said, he moves them again. Rose spoke up. There's a back way, she said. Behind the freight shed. The marshal turned back to her. You know it well enough to lead us. She hesitated. Just a second, then nodded. I can walk, she said. Eli frowned slightly. That ankle said otherwise. But time didn't care about ankles. The marshal made the call. I go out first, he said. Keep him busy. He looked at Eli. You wait 2 minutes, then you move. Eli nodded. Simple, clean. No wasted words. The marshal stepped to the door, paused, then opened it and walked out into the noise. The sound of voices rose again, Harlan's voice among them, smooth, controlled, like nothing in the world had slipped. Eli waited, counting slow in his head, not rushing. Men who rushed made noise. Rose pushed herself up. Pain hit. She didn't show it. Not this time. You ready? Eli asked. She gave a small nod. That depends, she said, on what happens next. Eli almost smiled. Almost. He opened the door. They stepped out into the street. Every eye turned. Not loud, but clear. Eli felt it. Like heat. Rose kept her head up. Didn't look at the ground, didn't look at the notice, just walked. That alone said something. Across the street, the marshal stood with Harlan, talking, drawing his attention, buying time. Harlan didn't look their way. Not yet. Good. Eli guided Rose along the edge of the buildings, not too fast, not too slow, normal. Always normal. They passed the saloon. The same men sat there, still watching. One of them leaned forward slightly. Eli didn't meet his eyes. Not worth it. They reached the side path behind the main street. Dust, barrels, shadows. The noise of town faded just a little. Ahead, the depot came into view. Low building. Wood worn by years. Stacks of freight crates lined along the side. 2 men stood near the platform, pretending to wait. Eli saw through it right away. They weren't waiting. They were watching. Rose whispered, back there. she said. He nodded. They cut behind the freight shed. Narrow space. Smelled like old hay and damp wood. A door sat half hidden behind stacked barrels. Simple lock, nothing fancy. Eli crouched, pulled a thin piece of wire from his pocket. Rose watched. You carry that everywhere, she asked quietly. He worked the lock. I've needed it before, he said. Click. The door opened. He eased it just enough. They slipped inside. The air changed. Cooler. Still. The depot office sat quiet. Desk near the window. Shelves lined with ledgers, ink, paper, work. The safe stood in the corner, tall and black. Solid. Rose pointed. That's it, she said. Eli nodded. They moved fast now. No wasted motion. He checked the shelves first, flipped through ledgers, freight lists, shipping logs, nothing that mattered, nothing that looked like what they needed. Rose stepped closer to the safe. Her hand touched the metal. He used this, she said. I saw him. Eli looked at the dial, then at the hinges, then back at the room. He wasn't a safe man, not like that. And time wasn't on their side. Outside, a sound. Footsteps. Close. Too close. Eli froze, raised one finger. Silence. Rose stopped breathing. The handle on the door rattled once, then again, someone trying it. Eli's hand went to his revolver, but he didn't draw. Not yet. Gunfire here would bring the whole town down on them. The rattling stopped. For a second, then came a new sound. Worse. A key. Sliding into the lock. Slow. Certain. Rose's eyes went wide. She didn't speak, didn't have to. Eli already knew. Harlan? Of course, he wasn't waiting. He was moving. The key turned. Metal clicked. The latch shifted. The door began to open. Eli moved quick, pulled Rose down behind the desk, low, out of sight. His hand rested on the revolver now, ready, but still not drawn. The door creaked open. Boots stepped inside. One, then another, then a third. Harlan's voice came soft, calm, like he had walked into his own office, 'cause he had, you see, he said, paper keeps things in order. Eli stayed still, watching, waiting, because now the truth was right there in that room, close enough to touch. But so was the man who had buried it. So here's the question now. When the man you're trying to expose walks in before you can prove anything, do you stay hidden and hope, or step out and risk everything right there? The door closed behind them. Not loud, just enough to seal the room. Eli stayed low behind the desk, one hand on Rose's shoulder, keeping her still. Her breath was shallow, controlled. Trying not to give them away, Harlan walked straight past the desk, didn't look around, didn't check corners. That told Eli something right away. He didn't think anyone was here. Good. Two men followed him in, boots heavier, steps less careful, hands close to their guns, but not drawn. Waiting on him. Always waiting on him. Harlan moved to the safe, calm, unhurried, like a man who trusted what he had built. You see, he said, voice easy, this is how things stay proper. One of the men chuckled. The other stayed quiet. Eli watched from behind the desk, every move, every step, not rushing. Because rushing got you seen. Harlan knelt at the safe, turned the dial, slow, careful, like he had done it 100 times. Click, click, click. The room felt smaller with every turn. Rose's fingers pressed into the floorboards. Eli felt it. Didn't look at her, just gave a slight squeeze on her shoulder. Stay. The safe opened. Heavy sound. Deep. Harlan reached inside, pulled out a thick ledger, then a bundle of papers tied tight. That's it, he said softly. Order. Eli's jaw tightened. That word didn't sit right. Not in a room like that. Not with a girl who had been hanging from a tree. Harlan stood, turned, stepped toward the desk, and stopped. Boots, not his. Right there in front of him. Just barely visible. 1 second. That was all it took. His smile didn't disappear. It shifted. Well now, he said. I thought I smelled mountain air. Eli stood up slow. Not fast, not threatening, just there. Rose rose behind him, unsteady, but standing. The two hired men lifted their hands toward their guns, not fully, waiting. Harlan didn't look surprised. That was the worst part. He set the ledger down on the desk, careful. You should have stayed in the hills, he said. Eli kept his voice even. You moved the papers. Harlan nodded once. Of course I did. Rose stepped forward before Eli could stop her. You stole land. She said, you lied to people. Harlan's eyes flicked to her. Cold now. Careful, he said. Eli shifted slightly in front of her. Not blocking, just there. You set that trap, Eli said. Harlan tilted his head. You can't prove that. No, Eli said, but I can prove this. His eyes moved to the open safe. Harlan saw it. The room went still. Outside, a train whistle echoed in the distance, low, rising. Time was running. Harlan's jaw tightened. You think a ledger changes anything, he said. You think paper beats power. Eli didn't answer. He moved, fast. One hard shove of the desk forward, it slammed into Harlan's chest. The ledger slid. One of the men fired. The shot cracked through the room. Glass shattered. Rose dropped instinctively. Eli pulled her down with him. The second man raised his rifle. Eli fired first. One shot, not at him. At the beam above, wood exploded. Splinters fell. The man flinched. That bought him a second. Harlan lunged. Not for Eli. For the safe. For the papers. Eli saw it. Grabbed the ledger with one hand. Harlan slammed into him. They hit the floor hard. Air left Eli's chest. The revolver slipped from his hand, skidded across the boards. Rose saw it. Pain nearly folded her in half, but fear pushed harder. She lunged once with everything she had left because she knew there would not be a second chance. She grabbed the gun and turned. Her hands shook like leaves, but the barrel stayed steady on Harlan's chest. Step back, she said. Her voice shook, but the gun didn't. Harlan froze. For the first time. Not calm, not smooth. Still. Outside, boots thundered, voices shouted. The door burst open. The marshal stepped in. Two rail workers behind him, both holding shotguns. Drop it, the marshal said. Simple, clear. These hired men didn't argue. They dropped their weapons. They weren't paid enough for this. Harlan straightened slowly, hands lifting just enough. Eli pushed himself up, breathing hard, ledger still in his grip. The marshal took one look around. The safe, the papers, the gun in Rose's hands. He stepped closer. You all right? He asked her. She nodded. Didn't lower the gun until Eli touched her wrist gently. Harlan adjusted his coat like nothing had happened. This is harassment, he said. I'll file charges. The marshal ignored him. He opened the ledger, flipped a few pages. His eyes narrowed. These don't match county filings, he said. Harlan didn't answer. For the first time, he didn't have something ready. Outside, the train pulled in. Steam filled the air. Noise. Movement. Confusion. Harlan's eyes shifted. Not to the marshal. Not to Eli. To the door. Eli saw it. Too late, because Harlan wasn't thinking about winning in that room. He was thinking about leaving it. And the moment the steam swallowed the platform outside, and he moved, fast, hard, straight for the door. So here's the question now. When the man you just exposed doesn't fight, but runs into a crowd you can't control, how do you stop him before he disappears for good? Harlan hit the door fast, not wild, not desperate, just fast enough to matter. By the time Eli reached it, the man was already gone into the white cloud of steam rolling across the platform. The world outside had changed. Noise, voices, metal grinding. The train had pulled in, hissing and alive, filling the air with heat and motion. Eli didn't stop to think. He moved, pushed through the doorway, into the steam. For a second, everything went white. Shapes, shadows, people stepping off the train, confused, annoyed, unaware of what had just happened inside that office. Stop him. Someone shouted behind, maybe the marshal. Maybe not. Didn't matter. Eli kept moving, eyes scanning, not looking for panic, looking for something that didn't belong. And then he saw it. A clean coat, too clean. Moving against the flow instead of with it. Harlan. Heading for the rear of the train. Eli cut across the platform, shoulders brushing past passengers, ignoring the looks, ignoring the noise. Harlan. He called. No answer. Of course not. The man didn't look back. He never looked back. He reached the last car, grabbed the rail, pulled himself up. The conductor shouted something about tickets. Harlan shoved past him. Eli hit the steps a second later. Caught the rail. Pulled himself up as the train lurched forward. Slow, but moving. Inside the car, people turned. Startled. Eli didn't slow. He moved through them, steady, not running, closing distance, always closing. Harlan pushed through the far door, out to the rear platform between cars. Wind hit hard out there. The sound of the train louder, iron on track and steel on steel. Eli stepped out after him. The platform shook under their boots. The ground below blurred past. Harlan turned then. Finally. You don't quit, do you? He said. Eli's voice stayed calm. You ran. Harlan gave a short breath. I adjusted. Eli shifted his stance. Balanced. Solid. Where is it? He asked. Harlan smiled. Small. Tight. There's always more. He said. That was enough. He had something. Not just the ledger. Something else. Harlan moved first. Not for a gun. For Eli. They slammed together hard, shoulder to chest. The railing caught Eli's back. The ledger slipped from his arm. Hit the floor between them. Harlan went for it. Not to read, to throw. Eli grabbed his wrist, held it. The wind tore at them. The train picked up speed. Below. The ground rushed past fast enough to end a man in one wrong step. Harlan drove his knee up. Eli twisted, took the hit on his side instead of his ribs. He took it like he had taken worse in his life, and he didn't make a sound. They stayed close. No space for wide swing. Just wait. Grip. Breath. Harlan's hand dipped toward his coat. Eli saw it. Brought his arm down hard. Something dropped. Between their boots, a small leather packet. Tied tight. Harlan froze. Just for a second, Eli saw it. That mattered. He glanced down, then back up. Not just paper, he said. Harlan's eyes darkened. Careful, Harlan said. Eli didn't answer. He shoved forward, forced Harlan back a step, then another. Toward the edge, the railing pressed into Harlan's back now, wind pulling at his coat. The train curved slightly, speed shifting just enough to change balance. Behind them, the door burst open. The marshal, forcing his way out, breathing hard. End it, he called. Eli didn't look, didn't need to. His focus stayed on Harlan, on the man in front of him, on the choice sitting between them. Harlan's eyes flicked down to the packet, then back up. You think that saves her, he said. You think one packet of paper fixes what men like me build over years? Eli's voice stayed level. It's enough. For the first time, Harlan looked like a man who knew the room had closed on him, and men like him would sooner trust a hard fall than a pair of cuffs. Harlan shook his head slowly. No, he said, it's not. Then he moved, not forward, back. One step, off the platform, gone. Eli lunged to the rail, looked down. Harlan hit the ground hard, rolled. Disappeared in the dust as the train pushed forward. The marshal reached the rail beside him. Is he dead, he asked. Eli kept looking. Dust trailed behind them. The shape on the ground didn't move much, but it didn't stay still either. He's alive, Eli said. The marshal exhaled, hard. Then we're not done, he said. Eli straightened. Looked down at the packet still in his hand. Small, light, but heavy in what it meant, because men like Harlan didn't run empty. And they didn't jump unless they believed they still had a way out. The train began to slow, the curve easing. the ground coming back into something a man could stand on. The marshal glanced at Eli. "We get off here," he said. Eli nodded. No argument. They moved to the steps, waited just enough, then jumped. Boots hit gravel, hard, dust rising around them. They didn't speak. They just started running back along the tracks, toward where Harlan had fallen. Because this wasn't over. Not yet. Not even close. And as the dust settled ahead, and the shape of a man began to come back into view near the rails, one thought sat heavy in Eli's mind. If Harlan Voss survived that fall, then whatever he was holding back was still not finished. So here's the question now. When a man loses his power, his papers, and his clean name, what does he do when the only thing he has left is nothing to lose? They found him 50 yards down the track, facing the dirt, breathing, barely. Harlan Voss was not the kind of man people imagined lying in the dust, and there he was, coat torn, hat gone, one arm bent wrong, still alive, still stubborn. Eli slowed as he approached, not rushing, not angry, just steady. The marshal came up beside him, catching his breath. They both stood there for a second, looking down at the man who had owned a town just an hour ago. Harlan tried to push himself up, failed, then tried again. That told Eli everything he needed to know. Men like that didn't quit easy. "You think this changes anything?" Harlan rasped. His voice was weaker now, but the belief was still there. Still holding on. Eli didn't answer right away. He looked out across the valley. The marshal stepped forward. "Read out the charges. Plain, clear. Forgery, fraud, interference with federal land, not loud words, but heavy ones." Harlan stopped trying to stand, not because he agreed, because he understood. Paper had been his weapon. Now it was his chain. They loaded him onto a freight wagon. No crowd, no cheering. Just a few quiet looks from men who had spent too long keeping their heads down. The wagon rolled away slow. Dust rising behind it. A woman outside the store didn't look away this time. She nodded. Small, but real. The boys by the wagon didn't whisper. They watched, curious, not afraid. Rose stood near the platform, still wrapped in Eli's coat, still favoring her ankle, but standing on her own. That may not sound like much to some men, but after a day like hers, standing on your own feet can feel bigger than winning a war. She watched the wagon disappear until it became nothing but dust. Then she turned. "What happens now?" she asked. Eli took a breath. Slow. "Now you choose," he said. That was the part Harlan never understood. Control only works while people believe they don't have a choice. The moment someone decides otherwise, everything shifts. Over the next few days, things didn't magically fix themselves. That's not how life works. But names started getting cleared. Land started getting looked at again. Papers got questioned. And more importantly, people started looking at each other differently. Fear doesn't vanish all at once. It cracks, and once it cracks, it never seals the same way again, so Rose didn't leave right away. That surprised Eli. Most would have. She stayed, walked the same street, past the same doors. But this time, she said her name out loud, and people heard it. Eli stayed a little longer than he planned. Long enough to see that strength doesn't always look like a man with a gun. Sometimes it looks like someone who refuses to bow again. Then one morning, he saddled his horse. No speech, no goodbye that lasted too long. Just a quiet nod. And he rode back toward the mountains, back to the kind of silence he understood. But something had changed, not just in the town, in him. Because once you step into something like that, you don't walk out the same. Now let me say something plain. I've heard a lot of stories over the years, some loud, some quiet, but the ones that stay with you are never about who was strongest. They're about who decided to act, even when it cost them. I've seen men walk away from things they should have stopped, and I've seen men step in when nobody asked them to. That second kind of man, he doesn't always win easy. But he sleeps better, and that counts for more than most folks admit. There's a moment in every life, maybe not a rope on a tree, maybe not a gun in the brush, but something, a choice. stay quiet, or step in, look away, or look closer. And that's the part that matters, because courage isn't loud. It doesn't come with music or applause. It comes in quiet seconds. When nobody promises you anything in return. Eli didn't save Rose because he wanted to be a hero. He saved her because he knew what it would cost him if he didn't. And that's a different kind of strength. So let me ask you something. When was the last time you saw something that didn't sit right and you kept walking anyway? And when was the last time you stopped, looked twice, and chose the harder road? I'll be honest with you. I've had moments I wish I handled better. Moments where I chose comfort over doing what I knew was right. And I've had a few where I stepped in. The nights I walked away still sit heavy with me. The nights I stepped in, even when it cost me, those are the nights I sleep through. If this story stayed with you, if it made you think about something in your own life, then let it. Don't brush it off. That feeling matters. And if you found something real in this, take a second, hit like, subscribe to the channel, because there are more stories like this. Now do me one favor. Take a sip of your coffee or tea, settle back, and tell me in the comments what time it is where you are and where you're listening from. I always like to know who's riding along with me. Before we part ways, let me say this plain. This story is gathered from frontier accounts and written back with a careful hand to carry the lesson, the human truth, and the weight of it. A few details have been shaped for clarity, and the images are created to deepen the feeling of the story. If this kind of tale is not for you tonight, step away, get some rest, and take care of your health. But if it meant something to you, leave me a comment and let me know. That way I know what kind of fire to light for you next time, because at the end of the day, a town changes, a life changes. Not when everything is perfect, but when one person decides enough is enough and chooses to act.